Hi friends, good morning one and all. I extend a warm welcome to everyone attending this webinar. Today I am going to speak about 21st century survival kit. You may wonder what's there inside this kit. It's nothing but the capacities and competencies required to survive in the 21st century. Why did I select this subject for a discussion? It is because that the present system of education does not help our learners to take up the challenges of adulthood. Even after graduating their courses, the students are not able to earn their livelihood. So, a massive recast is the need of the hour. It's amazing that the suicide rate of doctors in the United States of America is the highest of any profession. Deepika Tanwar, the verified member of Doximity US, says that one doctor commits suicide in the US every day. According to the data published by the National Crimes Record Bureau of India, 28 students commit suicide in India every day. In 2018, 10,000 students committed suicide, out of which 25% did it due to exam phobia. Why our students are so much afraid of examinations? Causes are many. Parental pressure, high esteem about the students, and lack of confidence. Why our students are not confident? Because they are spoon-fed and we don't train them to take up risks. McKinsey is the largest consulting company in the world. According to their report, just 25% of the engineers in India are employable. Coming to IT sector, only 6% are fit for hiring. It means 94% are thrown to waste bin. The above facts and figures undoubtedly show that the present system of education prevailing in India does not help learners to earn a livelihood. Children can meet the future challenges only when the school prepares them for taking up their roles as parents, entrepreneurs, businessmen, doctors, and other professionals. To achieve their full potential as adults, young learners need to acquire a lot of skills and competencies that we are going to deal with. So, our schools have to develop skills, better to say competencies, such as creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, self-management, technical skill, and problem-solving skill, often referred to as 21st century skills. Futurists call this 21st century survival kit. It means that in future you cannot survive without acquiring these skills. In my speech, I will concentrate on creativity. Let me now ask an introspective, self-analyzing question to the teacher community, of which I too was a member. Do our schools allow our students to be creative? Do our teachers make the child or break him? Ken Robinson, the British author, speaker, and international advisor to education, once asked, do our schools kill creativity? How relevant is the question? Because a child who enters in first standard asks 100 questions, but by the time he graduates from the school, he is not confident even to ask a single question. Who tied his tongue? Picasso's quote goes like this: every child is born an artist. The problem is to remain artist once he grows up. The artistic impulse is strong in the early years of life, but the artistic engagement loses as the child grows up. Who kills this creativity? I'll stop asking such unhappy, trivial questions. Let's now go deeper into the core of the subject. How can we develop the creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and self-management skill of our students? First, take creativity. What is creativity? It's thinking out of the box, thinking differently, unconventionally, or from a new perspective. It's the act of turning new and imaginative ideas into reality. It's doing something useful in a different way. It generates a willingness to play with ideas. It's not about what to do, but about how to do things. Let's now look what's going on in our language classrooms. Generally speaking, teachers read a passage, introduce new words, write the answers for the comprehension questions, and do some grammatical works. New words and grammar are to be taught in the real context, but teachers teach grammar and new words in isolation. Here, students have no role in generating language. Students write a lot, but they speak a little. Why can't our teachers set apart a little time in the beginning of the class to engage students in presentation? They will improve their speaking skill. I strongly believe that the teachers should not write the comprehension questions and their answers on the blackboard. Here students are Xerox machines just copying the version of teachers. The comprehension questions are meant to develop the comprehension skill of students. So, a language teacher must follow the following steps. First, the teacher should read the passage, explain its meaning, introduce new words and ideas, then ask the children for a silent reading, then direct them to sit in small groups and ask them to find out simple questions from the paragraph. Let the students find out the questions and their answers in groups. Later, the teacher presents her teacher version and students edit their answers. Later, they can move to the grammar and other exercises in the textbook. A teacher has not to worry about what to teach because it is there in the textbook. But she has to plan about how to teach. It is easy to learn what creativity is, but difficult to embrace it, yet not impossible. Let us now look how a teacher can be creative. As I told you, first he has to think out of box. He will have to take the road untraveled, or rather rarely traveled. A creative teacher will have to get out of his comfort zone and try out something he is not comfortable with. Only a passionate teacher can be creative. A profession becomes passion when one enjoys doing it. Now, I remember an incident. Last year, when I was selecting books from the outlet of IIMS Shimla, I got acquainted with a person from Delhi. I asked him what his profession was. His answer struck a note of inspiration to me. He said, "For a living, I pursue teaching, but it's not my profession, it's my passion." Teachers have to be passionate. Creative teacher engage learners with open-ended questions. Closed-ended questions can be answered with yes or no. Open-ended questions encourage a full answer. Open-ended questions help learners to improve their imagination. For example, take the practice of diary writing. Teachers often start with Anne Frank. Then they give a model of the rule and it's all over. Why can't the teachers help children to add their feelings and thoughts to their writing a diary entry? To this question, teachers respond with another question. If we run after creativity, who will cover the syllabus? Let me ask a question. Are the teachers appointed to cover the syllabus or uncover it? And what's the use of covering the syllabus if the children are not acquiring the necessary skills? Objective-based teaching, activity-based learning, project method, and assignment system will solve these problems to some extent. We cannot hold the teachers alone responsible for lack of this creativity in schools. The present system of evaluation is also responsible, because if the evaluation system focuses only on testing memory power, the teachers will be compelled to feed knowledge in the brains and squeeze out them at the end of term and examination. So, the evaluation system also has to be changed. Now look, how creative are our children. Once a child was drawing a picture. His teacher asked him what he was drawing. The child replied, "I am drawing God." The teacher asked, "God? But nobody has seen God." The answer to this was very interesting. The child said, "Wait, you are going to see God within seconds." So creative, so imaginative are our children. But do we allow them to grow? Look at this question. What could happen if the dog could speak? Suppose the dog in your house could speak, then what would happen? When a teacher asks a question like this, he or she is burning a candle in the child's brain. He will make intellectual investments and he will think very wide to come to this answer. So, unlike the closed question, the open-ended question will have different answers. As the answers are not identical, the teacher will have to put a lot of energy and time in evaluating these answers. That's why I told you that a creative teacher will have to get out of his comfort zone and burn a little midnight oil. Children are born with creativity. You might have seen children making mud cake and playing shopping. Who knows that? A great artisan is lying asleep in the toddler who makes mud cake, and a business magnate in the child playing shopping. Creativity is the most difficult thinking skill and the most sought after. It starts with imagination. When students create knowledge, they are in the driving seat. But when teachers pour out knowledge, they are only sleeping passengers. A creative teacher gives opportunity to learners to create knowledge, retrieve it, and transfer it into the life. What is transfer of knowledge or transfer of learning? It is the application of knowledge in the real life situation. Project-based learning is highly useful for the application of knowledge in the real life situation. Now look, do our children show what they knew? A creative teacher gives opportunities for the learners to apply their knowledge in the life situations. A creative teacher gives opportunities for the learners to express their competencies. If a child knows something, he or she must be able to do something with what he knows. So, a creative teacher has to support learners to change from information to transformation. That means a child has to transfer his knowledge into real life situation. At school, children practice letter writing and they get full score when they take an exam. But when a bank manager asks a high school graduate to submit an application for opening an account, he or she feels like fish out of water. Here, students fail to show what they knew or fail to transfer the knowledge into real life situation. So, my dear teachers, let me ask you a question. Are we preparing students for examination or for life? If you can take a joke about teachers, I will crack one. A group of teachers took a short journey in a bus, and one among them paid a 500 rupee note to the bus conductor. The bus conductor calculated the balance to be given back and gave it back. But the teacher was calculating the balance till the end of his journey. Here, the teacher could not transfer what he knows into the real life situation. The teacher has taught problems like these in his mathematics class, but he could not transfer his knowledge into practice. Here, the teacher has knowledge and the bus conductor skill. I want to reiterate that Knowledge and skill should go hand in hand. Students should be knowledge banks and think tanks at the same time. While interviewing candidates, company managers ask such questions that help to test if the candidates are able to apply their knowledge in the field of work they are going to be appointed. PISA is the program of International Student Assessment. PISA tests are designed to measure students' capacity to transfer knowledge into application. My request to the schools on the cutting edge of exam results is to collaborate knowledge and skills. Once an author finished his book on simple ways to make money. The name of the book is Simple Ways to Make Money. When it was time to publish, he approached one of his friends for a fund. His friend advised him to read the whole book once again. Here, our students are in no way different from this author. In knowledge, they are heroes, but on skills, they are zeros. A creative teacher must be compassionate and accepting. Teaching is a very humanistic profession, and being a compassionate teacher helps students being welcomed, accepted, loved, and cared for. A creative teacher should be empathetic, positive, and accepting mistakes. Positive comments like "you are smart," "you can win," can boost the learner's achievements. In our schools, mistakes are more often punished than seen an opportunity to learn. Consequently, the intimidated students hesitate to submit their works in front of the teacher. The student who continuously fails will develop a fixed mindset. He will think learning is not my cup of tea, and gradually he becomes dropout. So, a creative teacher never designs tasks that are beyond the capacity of students. Even if he allows such tasks, he gives help to the children. This is known as scaffolding. Teachers had to compliment students on their success, inquire about their family background, and address their issues. Students will open their heart only in front of the teacher they trust. I would like to share with you a striking incident. It was in 1998 when I was working as the principal of JDT Islam Vocational Higher Secondary School. In our talk, the Deputy Director of Education, Kozhikode, asked the principal of St. Joseph's Girls Higher Secondary School to submit a request to the government for Teachers Award. She said, "I got an award 2 years back." And she opened her mind. One day, at 12:30 at midnight, I was awakened by a bitter knock at my door. When I opened the door, I could see one of my students standing at the doorstep crying bitterly. I took her in and bolted the door. She had only a blanket to cover her body. I asked her, "My dear, what brought you here now?" She cried and told, "Ma'am, my father, that cruel monster, misbehaved me. I don't want to see him again." I hope you will not leave me. I thought instead of going to a police station or child line, she opted to seek my help. With these words, the teacher stopped the narration and asked a question. Tell me, principals, is there any other award greater than this award? We teachers must think, have we won such an award? Now, listen to the remark made by Daniel K. Inouye, the American senator from 1963 to 2012, which is an eye-opener to the whole teacher community. He said about his teacher, she visited our homes, met our parents, and helped in our homeworks and studies. Do we teachers usually pay a visit to our students' houses? Now, let me move to the second important skill, which is considered as the 21st century skill. It is critical thinking. The World Economic Forum places critical thinking at the top 10 most needed thinking skills. The jobs requiring critical thinking skill is 70%. 84% of the company managers believe that their organization suffered a loss because of the lack of critical thinking skill in their workforce. What's critical thinking? It is the ability to analyze information and make a reasoned judgment. It's about being an active listener rather than a passive recipient of knowledge. Critical thinkers rigorously question ideas and beliefs. Certain skills are needed in order to be able to think critically. They are observation, problem solving, analysis, interpretation, and decision making. Teachers empowering students to face future challenges have to give practice to the learners in acquiring these skills. Let's now discuss about observation. What's meant by observation? It's gathering information about something using all the senses. Teachers as well as students have to be good observers. Are we good at observation? Let me ask you some simple questions. How many buttons are there to button on your shirt? Can you say? We daily climb up and walk down the steps of our staircase. Do you remember how many steps are there in your staircase? Do you? We see crows every day. Who can undoubtedly say the number of toes or fingers in the feet of a crow? If we are dubious about the answers, it simply means that our observation is not keen. If so, how can we improve our as well as our students' observation skill? Here are some tips. First of all, make use of all the sense organs to learn and acquire knowledge. Improve concentration by cutting out distractions. Assign tasks for observation and to prepare observation notes. Play observation games. For example, call 3 students. Ask 2 of them to observe the other and ask them to go out of the class. Make changes in the student standing inside the class and call back the two who went out. Let them say, look the boy and say what changes have been made. If they can say all the changes, they are good observers. We can engage children in games like this to improve their observation skill. Another skill required for developing critical thinking is problem solving. Problem solving skill is the ability to solve difficult or unexpected problems. Employers and organizations hunt for people who are experts in problem solving. Take the case of an office bearer in a customer care center. He will have to solve hundreds of problems every day. It is his ability to solve the problem that decides his tenure in that office. How can we teachers improve the problem solving skill of our students? Take the story of the thirsty crow. This story gives us the message that every problem has a solution, and the ability to solve the problems lead to solution. Do our teachers convey this message while teaching this story? Anybody trying to solve a problem has to answer three questions: what, why, and how. What's the problem? Why did it occur? How can I solve it? In the beginning, I spoke about the doctors in the United States and students in India who committed suicide. They failed in answering the above three questions. Study of mathematics should aim at improving analytical, reasoning, and problem-solving skills in our students. Solving word problems and puzzles in mathematics also help a lot. For a deeper study in critical thinking, please read The Critical Thinking Companion by Cynthia Gray. Another quality of the creative teacher is that he will be tech savvy. It means that he or she will be proficient in handling technological devices, especially computer. The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic has made a total change in the way of learning and teaching. According to UNESCO, 1.2 billion students in 186 countries are suffering from the closure of schools. So, teachers, students, and even parents are now embracing online studies. So, a modern teacher should also be tech savvy. If he is not ready to update, he will become outdated. Communication is the next skill for every child to master. Communication is simply the act of transferring information from one person, place, or group to another. It can be verbal, non-verbal, or written. Advances in digital media, global job opportunities, and greater competition in workplaces demand a greater communication skill. It is undisputed that even graduates and postgraduates from Kerala are very weak in verbal communication. We have to improve the verbal communication of our students through several classroom practices. Conversation presentation, discussion, debate, and speech will help in developing verbal communication. And we can develop non-verbal communication through gestures, signals, facial expressions, body movement, and even our attire. Written communication can be developed through practices in writing, narration, description, diary, complaint, conversation, report, letter writing, etc. Active listening is a prerequisite for developing communication skill. Students can watch movies and observe devices like audiobook and free apps like VoiceThread, paper telephone, etc. to improve their communication skill. The next skill we have to discuss is collaboration. Collaborative learning or cooperative learning helps students acquire so many skills. Literally, the word collaboration means to work with one person or group in order to do or achieve something. In the classroom setting, it is the practice of breaking students into pairs or small groups for writing something or achieving some tasks. Collaborative study is highly useful at secondary and tertiary levels of education. Students have a central position in learning, and this leads to deeper learning. Here, teacher is not a sage on the stage, but a guide in the group. Collaboration also helps in developing oral communication, social interaction, self-management, and leadership skills. For a detailed study in collaborative learning, I recommend you to read Collaborative Learning Techniques by Elizabeth F. Barkley and two others. Before concluding this webinar, I would like to bring to your notice that in addition to imparting knowledge, teachers must try to inculcate the habit of acquiring skills in the students. 21st century skills are crucial in the professional field. Finally, I would like to call your attention to a Chinese proverb. If you give someone a fish, he eats fish that day. But if you teach him how to fish, he eats fish the whole lifetime. So, our instruction must focus more on helping learners acquire skills than on imparting knowledge alone. I hope tomorrow will be better than today. Yearning for a sunnier weather and a smoother path ahead, I conclude. Thank you.